What's going on, guys? In this video, I'm going to talk about the 4 big e-commerce emailing benchmarks that I'm paying the most attention to. So that way you can kind of see where your business stands as far as how your email marketing is performing. And I'm also going to share a few things for how you can improve each one of these metrics. So, really quickly, this should be obvious, but every business is different. Every industry is different. So, these average benchmarks are going to vary from brand to brand. So, you really have to look at, it's kind of like weight loss, right? You can't compare, if you're just getting started, you can't compare yourself to someone who is already in amazing shape, right? You got to look at the progress. So you first need to just establish a baseline of what the performance for your business looks like. And then you want to seek to improve on that performance from month to month, year to year, from this point going forward, because obviously you can't go back and change the past. Now, that said, again, I see a lot of different email accounts, and I will say that specifically for e-commerce businesses, that this tends to be true. These numbers I'm going to share tend to be true for virtually any kind of e-commerce business that's selling physical products online through Shopify, WooCommerce, or something like that. Okay, so the first thing, before we get into the emails, this kind of gets overlooked a lot, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, is your opt-in rate. So first, how many people are you converting onto your email list in the first place from your pop-ups or the different forms you have on your site? So the number that we like to see is at least 5%. So once a form is converting at least 5% of the traffic, then we know, okay, this is a good start, and we can kind of build on that. If your pop-ups are not converting at 5% or above, then it could just be a matter of A/B testing. So testing different headlines, different offers, different calls to action, different images that are used in the pop-up, or it could just be, again, like starting totally from scratch, which a lot of times, if you're completely changing up the offer, you are kind of starting from scratch, because you're going to have to redo the emails they receive after they've opted in, that is delivering whatever the offer is, right? So, but again, if you haven't reached that 5% mark yet, you can start with some A/B testing, but you might have to just start from scratch by trying a completely new offer, and that's totally fine, because it's well worth it to get a high performing form. So ideally, you want to see your pop-ups converting 10% or above. If you can convert 10% of your traffic or more, 10-15% of your traffic, you're doing really great, because now you're just way more efficient because you're obviously spending money to get people to show up to your site in the first place, whether you're running ads or you're creating social media content, whatever. You're investing resources into getting that traffic. So you want to convert as much of that traffic as possible onto your email list, beyond, of course, just getting conversions for people who purchase right there on the spot. So once you've got that going, now we can move on to the emails, because you want to make sure you're getting people on your email list in the first place, so that way you can send them emails and you can actually get the value from email marketing. So the next thing we'll look at is open rates. So in the past, the benchmark was always 20%, was kind of the gold standard, where if you're getting 20% or above, that was considered a good open rate, and that's pretty much true for any industry. Obviously, of course, that number will change from different industry verticals and all that. Now, because of the iOS updates and the way that they have inflated the reporting for open rates, 20% is actually a lot lower than 20%. So the number you see tends to be a lot higher, and it's just going to be based on how many iOS subscribers you have. It's not like it's just a clean number where it's double what it used to be. But what I would say is, a 20% open rate at this point is very, very bad. It's very, very concerning. So what we typically see is, 40% is a good benchmark, meaning if you're getting 40% or above, I consider that pretty good, right? So, but again, these are going to be all over the place, because different types of emails, whether it's an email in a flow or an email, if you're using segmentation, which hopefully you are with your campaigns, then different segments are going to be performing differently. So we typically see a range between, on the low end, like 35%, and that's assuming we're sending these emails to a lot of people. High end being 60% or more, and again, that's assuming that we're using segments segments that are actually big enough to have a decent amount of people, or else otherwise we could get, 80-90% open rates if we're just intentionally creating segments that are where everyone is very likely to open. Of course, we could just inflate those numbers. But I'm talking about normal course of business. You're trying to drive as much revenue as possible from your email marketing without burning out your list. Those are the numbers we typically see, is 35 to 60%. And then some of the flows are going to obviously see higher open rates than that, especially like the first email in the welcome series, right? Because people are opting in to get that specific offer. But on average, that's what I would say. So if you are falling below that, a lot of times the first thing you're going to think of is subject line. And it could be the subject line, but I actually don't find that to be the problem as much. In fact, I don't find that the subject line matters as much as people make it out to. And really what it comes down to is your overall strategy for your email marketing, meaning the strategy behind the content that goes in the emails in the first place. So how you're writing your copy, how you're designing your emails, and doing this in a way that actually tells a brand story, which you might not even have, and you're intentionally trying to attract and persuade your ideal customers. So you have to be very thoughtful in the content. That's part of it. Another part of it is segmentation and just who you're sending the emails to within your list. So if you're blasting every email to everyone on your list, you have a lot of cold people that you really shouldn't be emailing anymore, and that's going to be skewing your numbers. So you want to send to segments that are smaller groups of people that are characterized by maybe like their past purchase history, products they're interested in, their gender, where they're located. There's all different kinds of things, but you also want each of those groups to be sizable enough so you can actually generate some sales, and you're not just like sending to 5 people, right? I mean, you want to have thousands of people ideally in each of these segments. So, but anyways, once you've been more thoughtful about who you're sending to and what you're sending them, that is really going to drive up the open rates, because by taking those efforts, you're going to be sending emails to people that they actually want to receive. So it's so much easier to get high open rates. And what I find is if you're doing email marketing in this way, your open rates will naturally increase, and it will be very easy to actually maintain a high open rate. And you can pretty much say anything in the subject line. I mean, yes, you can use the go-to tricks to increase sales, but you can pretty much say anything in the subject line, and they're going to open because it's from you and because they have learned that you send good emails and you send emails they're interested in. And that's really it's not the short and sweet and easy way, but that is the truth about maintaining high open rates. Okay, now this next one, click rates. This is the trickiest one. This is the metric that you tend to see fall off the fastest and the hardest. And this is also the one that tends to skew the most from brand to brand, meaning that everything else we've talked about in the last metric I'm going to share, they all tend to stay pretty consistent. This is the only one that I would say can vary pretty widely from brand to brand. So for click rates, not click-through rate, but click rate, we like to see a click rate of 2% or more. Ideally 2.5% and above is really, really good. But I will say, if your click rates are, let's say, between 1% to 1.5%, but you are a big, let's say you're into the 7 figures, you email your list often, you've been doing email marketing for, at least a couple of years or so, that's pretty common, honestly. And a lot of it has to do with you just have so many people that you're sending, even if you have really tight and controlled segments on your list, each one of those segments still tends to have a lot of people on them. And so there's always just going to be some, percentage of emails that maybe people just don't even use that account anymore. There's all different kinds of things that can happen. But over time, more of these random or irregularities or situations where people might not be opening your emails, even if that particular person would still be interested in your emails, you just have more of those things. Plus, if you're emailing more often, then you likely have a lot more offers, and not every person is interested in everything. So I say all that to say that, look, if you're having success with email marketing and your click rates are 1.5%, I wouldn't panic. I wouldn't say like, oh man, we're completely failing. Yes, you want to seek to increase that, but you don't want to do so at the detriment of the revenue of your business, because a lot of times you get caught up chasing an engagement metric like click rate, and you end up decreasing revenue revenue to a point where it's like, what are we really after here, right? Are we trying to have the best engagement rates in the world, or are we trying to grow this business? So that's why you always kind of have to have this balance between those two, between revenue and click rates. So it's a never-ending game. And if you start to fall below 1%, you probably need to tighten up the segments to have those segments just be a little bit more exclusive. It could be that you need to be a little bit more strategic with the content that's going in the emails, put a little more effort into the copywriting, things like that. Okay, so then the last metric I want to talk about is the percentage of revenue that's attributed to your email marketing. So with e-commerce, the gold standard is 30% and above, meaning that if 30% of your total revenue is attributed to your email marketing, then that's a sign that you're doing a pretty good job with your email marketing. And I would say that that's actually a pretty good metric. However, our clients typically stay between 30 to 50%. So that 30% metric is definitely something that's good to aim for if you're below that. But a lot of times you can, just by getting all of the core flows built out and optimized, you can already get to 20, at least 20%, sometimes even 30% and above of total revenue just from the automations and not even from the campaigns. And really, I see more upside coming from the campaigns, meaning that being strategic with your campaign calendar, with how you create the content, and with using segmentation, that's how you're able to go from 30, maybe let's say 25% to 30, 35, 40, and even 50+% and even higher. We see clients that go higher, but it's just not as common. Percent of total revenue. And again, it's without having a good strategy for your content and without using segmentation, it's difficult to do that in a way that doesn't end up harming your email deliverability, which ends up just destroying the performance over time. So that's why you kind of you have to do all these things I talk about with with being thoughtful with the content and using segmentation and doing it in a way where you can send more emails without sending emails to everyone every time you send an email. So anyways, that's the general state of affairs as far as how things are right now. These numbers, this is what we're seeing, and I would say this has been pretty consistent over the last couple of years. Again, whenever that iOS update happened, open rates jumped dramatically, but they've pretty much stayed at this same point since then. So these are the numbers that I've been seeing over the last couple of years, and I expect to see going into the future, or at least the near future. So yeah, this is how emails are performing for e-commerce businesses. So if you have one and your business is not anywhere near this level, and you actually are generating sales, then there's definitely something wrong here. Like, so if your business is generating 6 figures or more per year, and all of these benchmarks I just shared sound foreign to you, then there's probably some major opportunities being missed with your email account right now, and we would be happy to help you with that. So you can just use one of the links below to either download one of the resources I've shared, or to get in touch with us and book a call, and we'd be happy to do a free audit of your account and show you exactly where you are leaking revenue with your email marketing. But otherwise, for that or for this video, that's it, and I will see you in the next one.